We're building a movement. Before I introduce Alejandra, I just wanted to take the personal privilege. Alejandra, le cambié el nombre. Anyway, that's fine. Before I introduce her, I just wanted to take the personal privilege to thank a few folks that helped me out from the beginning. So first, I wanted to give a special thanks to Jeff Cruz. Where he's at? Jeff Cruz helped me recruit a lot of you folks here today. I also want to give a thanks to Jason right here, my friend. He told us about this location. He said this is a great location, and I want to thank him for making that suggestion. I also want to thank Rebecca Rodriguez, where she's at. She's the finance director. She's a dear friend. She just had a baby, and she's still on the road, so that's commitment. So I think they do have little baby wear, right? Okay, they have little onesies. I want to thank Alex Yepes as well. He's the director of operations. Alex and I know each other for well over a decade. We're friends, and I appreciate his friendship. I also want to thank, I lost my train of thought. Who? I wanted to thank Latino Victory Fund, who helped amplify the event, to push it out. Also, DSA, Democrat Socialists for America. DSA. I have a lot of coffee today, so I'm a little.
It says coffee.
Also, who's the other groups? Anyway, huh? Solidarity Strategies, who's going to be doing an event tomorrow. So before I introduce Alejandra, I just want Alejandra. Yo le cambio el nombre acá. I'm sorry. I'll give you an extra donation. I'm sorry. I just want to say, in less than 5 hours, she will be turning 29 years old. So, happy early birthday. And I wanted to introduce Melissa Mark Viverito. Hold on 1 minute. Hold on. Le cambié el nombre como 3 veces, I'm sorry.
Buenas noches again to everybody. So, I had heard many variations of her name. Alexandria, I just asked her, it's Alexandria. Okay, so it's Alexandria Ocasio Cortez. I'm very proud to be here tonight on behalf of Latino Victory Fund here with our president, Cristobal Alex. I'm very proud as a Boricua, a Puerto Rican, who served in elected office for 12 years in New York City, who always ran and am still a progressive candidate, and taking on issues that at a time many wanted to dismiss. So after having served 12 years in office and having been 4 years the president of the New York City Council and having broken ground in New York City, it is an incredibly refreshing and inspiring moment in time where Alexandria did what many thought was the unthinkable in New York City. For those of us that are from the city and are from the state, all that we would hear and do here is that New York is progressive, New York is democratic, right? Who cares about what's happening there? And that's not true. There are a lot of battles that we are engaged in our city and in our state to make sure that we build an inclusive and progressive agenda that includes everyone. And so her candidacy and her victory broke through that myth and has propelled New York City, right, into a spotlight in talking about issues that matter, and it's through her candidacy and what she represents as a person, as a mujer, as a Boricua. And so, on behalf of Latino Victory, and I thought that I had the longest name as a Puerto Rican in elected office in New York City. Melissa Margarito, how many times people went, Alexandria Ocasio Cortez has beat me to that. But I'll say that my mother said when I was being raised that there were two names that she was entertaining. Melissa and Alexandria. So we have a couple of things in common. But with that, it is a real pleasure to be here with all of you and to introduce this incredibly inspiring woman, this inspiring leader, this inspiring Congress member to be.
Yeah!
And again, an inspiring Puerto Riqueña. So with that, Alexandria Ocasio Cortez.
Thank you, everyone. Before this tabletop is over, thank you, everyone, so much for coming here, for supporting this movement, the greater and larger movement for economic, social, and racial justice in the United States. Thank you all so very much. Thank you again to Latino Victory Fund. Thank you to DSA. Thank you, Solidarity Strategies. Thank you, every single person. And thank you, just random people who walked off the street and came in here. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, and also happy National Coming Out Day. Thank you all so much. Today we celebrate you and your courage, and also celebrate just what it means to have the audacity to be yourself. And that is a lesson that I think we all can learn and we can all internalize, especially when it comes to our politics. Because this is a moment where we don't have to compromise ourselves anymore. This is a moment where we don't have to shed off parts of who we are anymore in order to run for office and in order to be political and public in this country. And so I thank you all so much for being here, and I think in that energy and in that spirit, we all kind of, have an individual toast today to our queer brothers and sisters and to our unapologetically authentic brothers and sisters, no matter your identity. Again, I want to thank you all for being here because it's really surreal, to be honest. This experience has been really surreal, and Saturday I turned 29. And I think that fittingly, I'm spending my 29th birthday a little bit half in DC, and I'm taking the train and I'm going home to New York. And that is kind of going to be what the next year is about. Hopefully. It's not November 6th yet. Register your friends to vote. Thank you, and so I think it's so important, and it's fitting that it's half and half, because really what I hope we accomplish next year is bringing a grassroots, authentic movement to the capital of this country.
Yes!
And we just are looking to get here, is really what it is. And I cannot stress enough that this is not just about getting to November 6th. November 6th is day one. November 6th is day one. And so November 6th is day one, and I guess there's kind of some time, and then January 3rd is another day one. And we hope that these are day one of a pro-peace movement in the United States. That it's day one of the Democratic Party championing single-payer universal health care. That it's day one of fighting for tuition-free public colleges and trade schools. That it's day one for a living wage in this country. and address climate change in this country. That it's day one that we start fighting for the decarceration of our society. That we actually bring immigration justice so we can uphold our ideals as a nation of freedom and justice for all. That's what it's day one of. But we know that the struggles for all of those things are long. And they do not just end on election day. We cannot stress how important it is that we don't just mobilize our energy around elections, but that we maintain, engage, and evolve. Right now, what this country is asking of all of us is to step it way up. So if you've never voted before, it's okay. Now's the time to vote. If you only vote sometimes, now is the time to vote every time. Every time. If you voted every time, now's the time for you to organize your community to vote. And if you have done that, now is the time for you to run for office. That's what this movement is all about. We are only going to bend this arc towards justice by forcing it. We have to make it happen. We cannot wait for justice to happen. We cannot wait for candidates to be viable. We cannot wait for issues to be popular. We have to make them popular, make them viable, and make them happen. We are not people who wait for good things to happen. The people in this room are the people who are gathering, organizing, mobilizing resources, and mobilizing skills to make the country that we want to live in. We have to make it happen. We have to stand up for these rights. We have to speak truth to power. We have to be willing to be uncomfortable and exposed and be the only one in the room saying the right thing, because that's the courage that it's going to take to change this country. Right to fight for what is right. It will never be convenient, but it is what our duty is to our future generations. That's what we have to do right now. And this is very real. This is very real. Just earlier this week, the IPCC released a report saying we've got 12 years left to turn this ship around and save future generations. So the question that we have is not, are we going to wallow in despair, but is that, what are we going to do to make it better? In many ways, despite what so many people say, in many ways, this moment, I believe, is actually post-partisan. Because the greatest issues right now that we face are not about left or right. They're about right and wrong. They're about top and bottom. The right thing to do does not belong to a political ideology. It belongs to a moral construct. And what we are trying to do is gather people who are trying to do and fight for the right things, period. There is no debate about whether incarcerating children is okay. There's no debate about that. There is no debate as to whether we should continue producing fossil fuels. There's no debate. We should not. Every single scientific consensus points to that. Same thing there should not be a debate as to whether someone who is found with a dime bag of cannabis should spend years behind bars for a non-violent crime. There is no debate. And what we need to do, I think, is transform our culture of leadership, because we don't have to convince anybody. The country is with us. 70% of all Americans support improved and expanded Medicare for all. Yeah. 70%. That includes 52% of Republican voters. Almost everyone in this country agrees and believes that dark money is a corrosive force in our democracy and in our politics. Everyone agrees. Not only do we have 99% scientific consensus that man-made climate change is a threat and it's real, but we also have broad voting consensus that we want to address climate change. That Americans and everyday people in this country are asking us. They are asking us to enact these things. They're not debating about it. They don't have a doubt about it. They know what the right thing to do. So our job is to bring their will into law. That's what our job is. Because I don't aspire to be an elected official. I don't. I aspire to be a public servant. That's what I aspire to. And that's what all of us can aspire to. Because I often think about King. I think about what King said, is that you don't need your subject and your predicate to agree to serve. Everybody can be great because everybody can serve. And all you need is a heart full of love, is a heart full of grace and a soul generated by love. And that is the movement that is going to bring forth justice in terms of healthcare, education, housing, and to make sure that honest, everyday people can make ends meet and lead a dignified life while leaving a decent world for their children. That's what this is about. That's what all of this is about. It's not right or it's not red or blue or left or right or this opinion or that opinion. It's about how are we going to do right by ourselves and future generations. And so that, in this moment, takes courage. And that's why I think, especially groups like DSA that are willing to put their bodies on the line to make sure that not one van full of young children gets carried into a detention facility. And I thank the work that they do in fundraising to buy up brake lights so that they can change them for free so no one ever has to have a dangerous interaction. I applaud that kind of work because it's that kind of everyday courage. No one needs to give us permission to lead. No one needs to give us permission to serve. No one needs to give us permission to organize, and we just got to do the right thing by choosing and getting it done. That's what we're all here to do. So I thank you all for doing that. And the way that we can maintain that spirit, again, I got elected without taking any corporate lobbyist funds. Despite what anyone else may say, I know that my independence comes from that. I know that because I did not take corporate money, I can stand up for any position that I please for my community. And we have to make sure that others are able to do that too. So I thank you all for supporting that independence, because we have taken a huge leap of faith, and we are and for so long people said it is totally impossible to run for office without taking large sums of corporate lobbyist funds. And it is a huge, massive leap of faith to say you're going to run and we're just going to hope people support it. But people did. We willed it. And that faith, that when we run on the goodness and when we run on a faith and a belief in the best of humanity shows up. Because I know I'm tired of it, I know a lot of us are tired of lowest common denominator politics. Not anymore. So I thank you all for supporting it, and I hope that you continue to support this in whatever way, because what politics ultimately is about is relationships. They're scaffolded relationships and how we make decisions based on what is best for the everyday person. And so we cannot do that without broad consensus, without coming together. And what I often say, whether it's an organizing event, a town hall, an evening at a pub, is that this is not just about this conversation, this is about this conversation. Because everyone in this room shares common values and has complementary skill sets. So what I always ask people is to make sure that you leave this room today having known or spoken to someone that you did not know coming in. It's really important because that is what building power is about. It's more substantive than just funding. I thank you all so, so much. And to this day, even with really generous donors, our average contribution is still $28. Because that is what it's about. That's all of what it's about. And it's, I guess I'll kind of end with this. A couple of weeks ago, we had a canvassing launch out of another bar in the Bronx, and it was called Lorraine's. And we went in, and there was a reporter who came up to me afterwards, and they're like, why'd you do this in a bar? And I was like, what do you mean, why did I do this in a bar? And he was like, is it the symbolism? And I said, no, this is the only place we could find. And that is because spaces like these are where the public can gather, where everyday people can gather. Because I don't think that money should purchase access to our representatives. And so I thank you all for supporting that value, because it's one thing to have that value, it's another thing to win a primary while having these values. And that has nothing to do with me, and it has everything to do with you. So I thank you all very, very much.
Thank you guys for coming out. This is an amazing turnout. The typical way in DC to raise money is you have a few corporate lobbyists, each give a couple $1,000s each, and this turnout's amazing. We've raised over $16,000 for more than 250 donors. So thank you guys. But we're trying to build a movement, so I'm going to ask you guys to do a couple things. For those that could afford to give a little bit more and could give $29 for her birthday, we're hoping you can make another donation, and we have merchandise. You can get a t-shirt for that, and you can get buttons. So we're asking you for that. The election is in about 25 days. Who here is going to canvass and do a shift for a progressive candidate? So we want to make sure you guys are involved in signing up for shifts, and then after the election, stay involved with the great groups like DSA, like Latino Victory Fund, LULAC, and other groups, Our Revolution, etc. Make sure to stay involved after that. And now my final ask for you guys, since this is her birthday, I think we should sing Happy Birthday.
Yeah!
Alexandria, yeah? All right. So come and join me. Happy birthday to